And I've been mentioning that throughout some of my talks earlier today, and you guys are doing what I'm looking for. What you're incorporating more large muscle groups, getting the flow, and not just isolating small, wrist turn only, but you're involving the forearms all the way around. You're keeping the groove. I notice you guys feeling the flow through your head and the neck, and you're kind of embodying the pulse through movements of your body, and that's just really cool. And that's the thing that makes the music really come off and not just be technical, technical display, but it's still musical and grooving. But despite that, you still had demanding technical playing. So it's really impressive, guys. I really dug it. You had difficult licks, and yet the groove maintained. And when the snares were thrown down, the rest of the line was keeping the pulse happening, and you all kind of traded off and had your moments to shine. So, bravo. I was really digging it. I like the use of space too. Did you guys notice that? There was points where they actually would stop playing for a minute and leave a gap, and then play an accent and play a few things in there. And that's really great for me too as well. I love that, where it's not just ram, 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 because eventually you get saturated. You can only hear so much, so the use of space is very cool. I appreciated that so much. Man, Chugga-Da-Chugga-Da. Oh my gosh, you guys played that. Old school Blue Devil warm-up there. Actually predated the ditty. If anybody knows what the ditty is, that's what Blue Devils used to play for their on-the-field warm-up. And before that, they played what you guys played. That thing. And yet you kept your feet in time. I think you played it with better tempo than the Blue Devils used to back in the 80s. So that was pretty cool. Impressive. To look at. I'd take a look at that snare drum right here. I think it's too high for you. This one, just a little bit. That's pretty high. Only because I noticed there'd be times where your bead would be pointing up after you play, and then you get this fulcrum a little bit below the bead. I think this one is just a little bit too high for you. I think it would match if you brought it down maybe just that much. I'm curious to see how it is on your harness, if it's the same height there. But I like you have the height going small, medium, large right there. It's cool. I see the reasoning for that, but you definitely don't want it as low as your centers, but just a hair lower than it was, I think will be better for your individual body type. I love the upper battery dynamics. Upper battery meaning the higher tuned drums, the snares and the tenors. I think cymbals and bass drums, you guys can maximize what you've been given to help match what they're doing. Because there's points where they're coming down to the rims, playing real soft, and I didn't get quite as much of a sense of that from the bass line. So, and you did have some opportunities to play softer where it's written for you. So just make sure that you're not, and it's common. When you're in a bass line and you're splitting up all the parts, the tendency is to just play. Like, when is my note? Oh, and 3. And just get it in there. And 3. And not play with the volumes that are defined. So it's actually another level. It's more difficult to play with volume, dynamic contrast on the bass drums and cymbals. And so that's something that I encourage you to try to explore a little bit more to bring another sense of direction and musical phrasing to the drum line. Would be, you guys can just make sure your softs are a little softer because your louds are great. I like the tuning of the bass drums, especially down low. I think maybe the smaller ones could be cranked a little bit more to give a little bit wider of a tuning range. You got a nice thump out of the bigger drums, a lot of the subwoofer, as it will. The bass line is kind of the subwoofer of the drum line, and it's what provides the impact, and you've definitely got that. But some of the multi-tonal stuff, I think would be better served if we could just crank those bass drums, the top maybe 1 and 2, just a little bit more and get a little wider tuning range would be awesome. Let's see. Oh yeah. So you guys were nailing those 16th note rolls, this stuff. Like playing this thing, a fast roll. as much, or the more open the triplet rolls. And I think it was just coming from being a little bit in a hurry to finish the rhythm. When we would do that same, for example, that same technique, and if you wanted to play like there would be times where it would get a little fuzzed out in there. And I think if you just be patient with those rhythms and really let each diddle be rhythmically accurate instead of just fast. Because the 16 notes, those are 16 note rolls, those are just go, you know, and you're getting those. But the more open rolls, I think if you just took your time and really looked at what one hand does during that, it's really not that fast, right? If I'm playing the triplet roll at that tempo, it's pretty open and slow. So be patient with that rhythm, so that way it can speak clearly for you. But guys, great job. I'm going to hand it over to my friend Brett.